I am so excited to be here with Whitney Stewart today. She is here to share just some riveting information about her story and her background and how she's really kind of cut her way through some of the struggles and trials and tribulations that she's experienced. And boy, when I talked with her a while ago preparing for this session, I was very excited about having her with us today. So Whitney, it's great to have you here.
Great to be here, Joanne.
Perfect. I love it. And so we're going to jump right into our presentation here today. And what I'd like you to do is if you would tell us about a time when life really gave you some lemons and how did you cope with it and how did you thrive? So tell us a little bit about your story, Whitney.
Yeah, that's a great question, Joanne. You know, when I was in middle school, I didn't think that I would live past the age of 14. I was quietly slipping into a depression from listening to my dad tear my mom apart with his words. I think for me, the worst part about that was that I was internalizing a lot of what he was saying. You know, I didn't think that what he was saying was just meant for her exclusively, but it was something that was meant for me and for my brothers. And once he left, it appeared as though he was living this life of abundance while my brothers and I did without. And so when I would go to bed at night, I would claw at my arms, just wishing that I could die and go away. And thoughts became plans. Plans that, you know, thankfully, right, never came to fruition, but it was because the Boys and Girls Club took a chance on my family. I remember the day that my mom took my brothers and I to register for summer camp at the Boys and Girls Club. And she realized that she didn't have enough money to send us. But the unit director at the time reached out to her and said, you know, wait, right? Like we can help you. And it was in that moment that they truly saved my life because, you know, they were taking a chance on my family. And the mentors that I met at the Gene Matthews Boys and Girls Club wholeheartedly believed that, you know, regardless of my circumstances, my life mattered. And this was huge because they ultimately taught me a lesson that, you know, still applies today, and that is that relationships matter. I am the woman that I am today because my mentors at the Boys and Girls Club invested in my character and leadership development at a very young age. And I think that this is, you know, relevant whether it's in business or in life. You know, sometimes we find ourselves in the belly of the beast.
My goodness.
It's our mentors, right, who are there to, you know, really reach in and pull us out. They're the ones who equip us with the tools that are necessary to ultimately conquer our adversity and emerge stronger than we were before. So very grateful.
Oh my goodness. I will say that it's unbelievable as you share this aspect of your life, Whitney. And I say that in part because I do know some of that rest of the story, if you will, but your descriptions are so powerful, you know, pulling you out of the belly of the beast. It really gives us a sense of what you were feeling and sensing back in those early days at such a young age. And so it really does underscore how when we're surrounded by the right people, giving us that encouragement, it really makes a difference. And I know for you, you've had some turning points along the way that really did propel you to the path that you're on now. And so maybe you can share some of that with our audience.
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the big turning points for me actually came when I was 13 years old. So I was still going to the Gene Matthews Boys and Girls Club, and I was selected to be a part of a group to take a trip to Colorado for a week. And I remember one day we woke up and the counselors told us that we were going to be climbing a mountain later that morning. Now, Joanne, I am a Florida girl through and through. So you can imagine my surprise and fear, right? When I found myself shimmying across cliffs and climbing over boulders to get to the top of this mountain. But eventually we made it. And it was beautiful just looking out across the landscape. And I remember the counselor, Mr. Josh at the time, came over to me, put a hand on my shoulder, and he said, Whitney, today you climbed a mountain. And if you can do that, you can do anything. And it's been 10 years, right, since he said that, but those haven't left me. Because what he was really saying is that even when we're at our very lowest point, we still have greatness within us. And, it just lit a fire in me because I began to believe that there was more possible for me, and not just for myself, but for my family, for my community. I slowly was able to find my voice. And I went from being this painfully shy person to being able to lead. And, by my senior year of high school, I was leading Sarasota Military Academy's ROTC unit of over 1,000 cadets as their regimental commander while maintaining a 4.6 GPA. I graduated and eventually went on to an Ivy League school. I was able to serve as the National Youth of the Year for Boys and Girls Clubs of America, where I was advocating for the organization's over 4 million young people in conversations with leaders like President Obama. And none of this, right, would have been possible if it weren't for my mentors when I was 11, 12, 13 years old. They're the ones who inspired me to pursue my dreams passionately and unapologetically.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Whitney, when you talk about it, I get goosebumps listening to you. Number one, because you came from such a difficult upbringing. And then number two, the power of somebody really believing in you and then taking you up on that mountain and saying, if you can do this, you can do anything. I mean, this just underscores what people helping people can do for one individual. So tell us a little bit more if in terms of some of what do you see for yourself doing in the future? What are your plans? What are you anticipating going forward?
Sure, that's another really great question. My dream is to create a more inclusive society. And right now that manifests itself as me serving as a strategy consultant who works at the intersection of sustainability and technology. I see myself eventually building my own company one day, but really what it comes down to is public service, right? And finding ways to create a more inclusive, just society where people, no matter what their circumstances are, have access to the resources necessary to, not just get by, but to thrive and live a very meaningful life. So, in whatever space that I'm in, that is what I'm chasing.
Well, I have to tell you, because I think of the fact that at a very young age, still in high school, you were dealing with 1,000 ROTC candidates. Is that what I heard you say? Is that correct?
Yes. So we were all still in high school, but we all went through the JROTC program.
Okay, and then your impact on a group as large as 4 million people, Whitney. This is just astounding. And so if you were to share just one or two takeaways with our audience today, I know you've already said some of your key learning points, but could you either reiterate those key points or share with the audience what one or two things that you think they could do that would make this difference in their lives the way that you've experienced it at a very young age? What might those two or three things, one, two, or three things be that you would leave our audience with today?
The biggest thing that I could share is that, when we are in positions where we've been helped or our lives have been impacted by others, what we ultimately need to do is find ways to serve and help someone else, right? Going to the Boys and Girls Club, I benefited greatly from mentors who believed in me. So, the question that I have now and that I'm pursuing on a daily basis, and I hope, this audience is as well, is, who can I now uplift? Who along the journey can I find, share what I've learned, and empower them to live their great futures too? So for me, I think that service and uplifting the people that you have around you is the greatest gift.
Well, Whitney, I have to tell you, you're an inspiration for all of us. And so I want to thank you sincerely for spending this very compressed time with us here today. But the message you have left is very big, and we so appreciate your being with us today. I know everybody's out there clapping for you. I certainly am. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Joanne.